Close your eyes, let the world outside fade away, and travel with me through time. Let's drift back to a city that was once the heart of the world. Imagine Rome, not as ruins, but as a living, breathing giant. The air hums with a million voices, a tapestry of Latin, Greek, and languages from distant lands. Feel the gentle warmth of countless torches and oil lamps, their flickering light dancing on stone walls, casting long, soft shadows. The streets are alive, paved with smooth stones, worn by centuries of footsteps. Listen closely. Can you hear it? The murmur of the crowd in the forum, a steady, powerful hum of commerce and politics. Senators in white togas debate the fate of nations, their voices rising and falling with passion and purpose. Merchants call out their wares, the scent of spices from the east mingling with the aroma of freshly baked bread. You hear the clatter of chariot wheels on the Appian Way, the rhythmic march of legions returning from conquests, their armor glinting under the Italian sun. Children laugh and chase each other through narrow alleys, their joyful shouts echoing off ancient walls. The sound of water is everywhere. Grand aqueducts, monuments to engineering genius, carry rivers into the city, feeding magnificent fountains that splash and sing in the public squares. People gather here at these oases of cool water to talk, to share news, to simply be part of the city's grand, flowing lifeblood. You can almost feel the fine mist on your face, a refreshing touch in the warm evening air. In the grand villas on the hills, music drifts from open windows, the gentle plucking of a lyre, the soft notes of a flute, laughter and poetry mix with the clinking of wine goblets. Down below, in the Colosseum, the roar of the crowd is a distant thunder, a sound of spectacle and raw power, the pulse of an empire that believes itself eternal. Every sound, every sight, every scent speaks of strength, of permanence. This is Rome in its golden hour, a city so vibrant, so full of life, it feels as if it could never end. The very air seems to crackle with energy, with the belief that this moment, this grandeur, will last forever. The footsteps you hear are not just of people, but of history being made with every step. The city is a symphony, and you are standing right in its magnificent, heart-pounding center. This is the sound of forever. Now, let the scene slowly change. The vibrant symphony begins to fade, note by note. The triumphant roar of the Colosseum softens into a whisper, carried away by the wind. The marching of the legions grows fainter, their footsteps echoing into memory until they are heard no more. The boisterous debates in the forum quiet down, the passionate voices dissolving into the twilight. One by one, the lamps in the windows of the grand villas are extinguished, leaving the hills in darkness. The music ceases. The once crowded streets begin to empty. The river of people slows to a trickle, then disappears. What remains is the sound of the wind, whistling through empty archways and deserted colonnades. It's a lonely sound, a mournful song for a glory that has passed. The stones that once echoed with a million footsteps now lie silent, listening only to the passage of time. The grand fountains still splash, but their song is different now. It's no longer a celebration of life, but a solitary murmur in the vast quiet, a gentle elegy for what was. Imagine standing in the Forum at night, not in its golden age, but centuries later. The moon casts a silvery light on broken columns and weathered marble. The only sound is the gentle rustle of weeds growing between the paving stones. The silence is profound, almost heavy. It's the silence of forgotten conversations, of silenced ambitions, of a power that has crumbled to dust. This is the silence that follows the fall of an empire. A silence so deep, it seems to absorb all sound, all memory. The eternal city has found a different kind of eternity, one of quiet reflection. The hum of a million lives has been replaced by the soft, steady breath of the earth, reclaiming its own. It's a strange thought, isn't it? How something so powerful, so immense, so certain of its own immortality can fall silent. We look at our own world, our own magnificent cities. Think of New York City, the city that never sleeps. Stand in Times Square, and you're bombarded by light, by sound, by an overwhelming sense of energy. The endless river of yellow cabs, the roar of the subway beneath your feet, the chorus of 1,000 languages from people all over the world. It's a modern Rome, a center of finance, culture, and power. Its heartbeat is the relentless hum of ambition. It feels permanent, indestructible. Or think of Los Angeles, a sprawling kingdom of dreams under a sun-drenched sky. The constant whisper of traffic on the freeways, a concrete river flowing day and night. The buzz of Hollywood, where stories are created and sent out to the entire globe. From the Hollywood Hills, the city at night is a breathtaking carpet of lights. Each light a home, a car, a life. It feels like a galaxy on Earth, vast and unending. And what about Chicago, the city of broad shoulders? Its skyline, a testament to human will, piercing the clouds. The wind, its famous companion, carries the sounds of blues music from dimly lit clubs. The cheer of the crowd from Wrigley Field. The rumble of the L train as it snakes between towering skyscrapers. These cities are our modern marvels. They are our forums, our coliseums. They are alive, they are powerful, and they feel, just as Rome did, eternal. We walk their streets with the same certainty that our ancestors walked the streets of Rome, believing that the lights will never go out, that the symphony of urban life will play on forever. We build our monuments of steel and glass, just as they built theirs of marble and stone, convinced of their permanence. But as the story of Rome whispers to us across the centuries, we are reminded that everything is temporary. The stones of the mightiest empire eventually become silent witnesses to the passage of time. The cities we believe to be the center of the universe are just moments in a much longer, quieter story. This isn't a sad thought. In fact, there's a strange and beautiful peace in it. It's a reminder to find the quiet moments amidst the noise. Just as Rome found its eventual silence, we too can find our own pockets of tranquility. The fall of Rome isn't just a story of collapse, it's a story of transition. A transition from overwhelming noise to profound quiet. And in that quiet, a different kind of beauty emerges. The beauty of stillness, of contemplation. When the roar of the crowd fades, you can finally hear your own thoughts. When the dazzling lights dim, you can finally see the stars. Think about it. The silence of the Roman Forum under the moonlight is not an emptiness. It's a fullness. It's full of history, full of lessons, full of a deep, resonant peace. It's an invitation to let go of the frantic energy of the day, the endless striving, the constant noise. It's an invitation to simply be, as you lie here, ready for sleep. Let that ancient silence envelop you. Imagine the noise of your own day, the traffic, the deadlines, the endless notifications fading away, just like the sounds of ancient Rome. Let the bustling streets of your mind become quiet, moonlit paths. Let the loud debates of your worries soften into whispers and then into silence. There is a deep peace in accepting the impermanence of things, in realizing that even the grandest spectacles eventually end. The show is over. The crowds have gone home. And now there is only the gentle, quiet, dark. This is not an end, but a return to a natural state of rest. A return to the soft, steady rhythm of your own breathing. Feel the quiet settle over you like a warm, comforting blanket. There is no need to build empires tonight. No need to win debates or march in legions. All you need to do is rest. Find the peace in the quiet. Let the silence hold you, heal you, and carry you into a deep and restful sleep. The eternal city found its peace in silence, and tonight, so can you. Breathe in the quiet. Breathe out the day. Good night. Sleep well. The 13th of March, 44 BC, as the first light of dawn spills over the 7 hills of Rome, the city begins to stir. It's a morning like any other, yet it's not. It's the last morning of the Roman Republic as the world knows it. Down in the bustling forum, vendors are setting up their stalls. Their voices a familiar chorus calling out prices for fresh bread, olives, and wine. The air smells of baking dough and damp earth. A detachment of the Praetorian Guard, their armor gleaming in the soft light, marches with practiced precision to relieve the night watch at a government building. Their footsteps echo on the cobblestones, a steady, rhythmic beat in the heart of the vast empire. Citizens emerge from their homes, ready to face the day. A baker dusts flour from his apron. A senator's aide rushes through the streets with a stack of scrolls, and children chase stray dogs through narrow alleyways. They are all living their lives, completely unaware that the very foundation of their world is about to crack. There's a sense of order, of permanence. The Roman peace, the Pax Romana, feels absolute, unshakable. But in the shadows, a different kind of order is taking shape. A conspiracy born of fear and ambition is reaching its terrifying conclusion. While the city awakens, Gaius Julius Caesar, dictator for life, also prepares for his day. In his residence, the Domus Publica, he is a man at the pinnacle of power. He has conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon, and defeated his rival, Pompey the Great. Rome is his. But this morning, something feels off. His wife Calpurnia is troubled. She tells him of a nightmare, a vision of him lying murdered in her arms. She pleads with him not to go to the Senate. Friends, too, have warned him of unsettling omens. A soothsayer had famously told him to beware the Ides of March. Well, the Ides of March have come, he might think, and I am still here. Caesar is a man of logic, not superstition. He has faced down entire armies. What are dreams and prophecies to him? He dismisses Calpurnia's fears, assuring her that all is well. He has important business to attend to. The Senate is meeting at the theater of Pompey, and there are matters of state to discuss, plans for a new campaign against the Parthians to finalize. He is a man of action, and inaction feels like a weakness he cannot afford. He believes his destiny is forged by his own hand, not by the whispers of the gods or the dreams of a worried wife. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, the conspirators gather there, not shadowy figures lurking in dark alleys. They are senators, respected men of Rome, men who have shared meals with Caesar, men who have fought alongside him. There's Marcus Junius Brutus, a man Caesar regards almost as a son. There's Gaius Cassius Longinus, the grim-faced ideologue who sees Caesar as a tyrant, threatening the very soul of the Republic. They meet in hushed tones, their faces etched with a mixture of resolve and terror. They know the risk. If they fail, they will be hunted down and executed as traitors. But if they succeed, they believe they will be hailed as liberators, the saviors of Rome. Each one hides a dagger beneath his toga. The cold steel is a constant reminder of the bloody task ahead. They exchange final words, steeling their nerves. For them, this is not murder. It is a necessary act, a tyrannicide to restore freedom to the Roman people. They make their way towards the theater of Pompey, their hearts pounding in their chests, their purpose a terrible secret held tight. Caesar finally makes his decision. He cannot show fear. He cannot let superstition rule him. Decimus Brutus, one of the conspirators who has come to escort him, persuades him to ignore the omens and attend the Senate meeting. To do otherwise, he argues, would be seen as an insult to the senators who have gathered to honor him. Caesar, ever conscious of his public image, agrees. He dresses in his formal toga with its purple stripe, the symbol of his authority, and sets out for his final journey. As he walks through the forum, a crowd gathers. Hands reach out to touch him. People press petitions into his hands. One man, a Greek teacher named Artemidorus, shoves a scroll into his grasp, desperately urging him to read it at once. "Read this, Caesar, alone and quickly," he implores, "for it contains a matter of great importance to you." The scroll details the entire conspiracy, naming every man involved. But in the crush of the crowd and the press of official business, Caesar simply hands it to an aide to be read later. The warning, the one clear chance to save his life, is lost. He walks on, oblivious, towards his doom. He arrives at the portico of the theater of Pompey. The senators rise to their feet in a show of respect as he enters and takes his seat on his gilded chair. The air is thick with a tension that is almost palpable. The conspirators begin to close in, surrounding him under the pretext of presenting a petition. One of them, Tilius Cimber, kneels before him, pleading for his exiled brother to be allowed to return to Rome. It's the signal. Cimber grabs Caesar's toga, pulling it from his shoulders. "This is violence," Caesar cries out. Immediately, another conspirator, Casca, strikes the first blow, a glancing wound to the neck. Caesar turns, shocked, and catches Casca's arm, stabbing it with his writing stylus. "Vile Casca, what are you doing?" he shouts, but it's too late. The others swarm him. Daggers flash in the light of the Senate chamber. He sees faces he knows, men he trusted. He fights back, but he is one against many. Then, through the chaos, he sees him, Marcus Brutus, his dagger raised. The realization hits Caesar with the force of a physical blow. Betrayal from the man he loved like a son. According to the historian Suetonius, his final words are not of defiance, but of heartbroken disbelief. "Kai su tenon, you too, my child." Defeated, he pulls his toga over his head, accepting his fate. He doesn't wish for his enemies to see him fall. He stumbles and collapses at the base of a statue of his great rival, Pompey. He lies in a pool of his own blood, stabbed 23 times. For a moment, there is a stunned silence. The deed is done. The conspirators stand, breathing heavily, their daggers dripping with blood. Brutus raises his hand, intending to address the other senators, to explain their actions, to proclaim the restoration of the Republic. But his words are lost in a wave of panic. The senators, who were not part of the plot, flee in terror, their screams echoing through the great hall. They pour out into the streets, spreading the news like wildfire. The city, which had awoken so peacefully just hours before, is plunged into chaos. Shops are shuttered. Citizens run for the safety of their homes, their faces masks of confusion and fear. The peaceful morning has given way to a terrifying afternoon. The liberators, as they saw themselves, stand alone in the blood-spattered Senate chamber. They had a plan to kill a tyrant, but they had no plan for what came next. The body of Julius Caesar lies abandoned on the Senate floor for hours before 3 loyal slaves finally come to carry him home. The empty chamber, the overturned chairs, the statue of Pompey splattered with his rival's blood all bear silent witness to the day's brutal events. The assassination was not the end of a tyranny, but the beginning of the end for the Roman Republic. It triggered a new series of civil wars that would ultimately lead to the rise of an emperor, Caesar's own great-nephew, Octavian. The morning had dawned on a Rome that believed in its own enduring strength. But as the sun sets on the Ides of March, it illuminates a city gripped by uncertainty and a future that is now terrifyingly unknown. The death of one man had irrevocably altered the course of history, proving that even the most powerful empire can be brought to its knees, not by a foreign army, but by a handful of men with daggers hidden in their cloaks. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories from history. We often imagine the end of power as something dramatic, a thunderous collapse, a final, defiant speech, a door slammed shut for the last time. We picture revolutions, grand resignations, the overthrow of dynasties. But what if the true departure of power isn't a bang, but a quiet, almost imperceptible whimper? What if it's not an event, but a process? A slow, creeping silence that replaces the once deafening hum of influence. Think of it this way. Power isn't a crown you wear or a title you hold. It's a current, a flow of energy between people. It's the attention, the deference, the anticipation that fills a room when a leader speaks. And when that current begins to weaken, it doesn't spark and short-circuit. It simply fades. The phone calls that once came thick and fast start to dwindle. The emails that demanded immediate answers now sit unanswered, their urgency lost. The meetings that once set the agenda for thousands are now sparsely attended, their purpose seeming to dissolve into the air. This is the real nature of power's end. It's the growing quiet in the hallways. It's the respectful nods that become just a little too brief. It's the subtle shift in posture when you enter a room, a lack of the lean-in that once signaled rapt attention. No one announces it. There's no memo, but everyone feels it. It's an absence, a void where something vibrant used to be. The most telling sign of fading power isn't a rebellion. It's indifference. It's when your directives are met not with opposition, but with a polite non-committal. We'll look into it, knowing full well that no one will. This is the 2-minute warning of power's departure, the profound and telling silence that precedes the final quiet. The first tremor in this quiet earthquake is the weakening of a leader's grip. It starts with small things, almost trivial. A decision is delayed, not challenged, just postponed. A suggestion is politely ignored. The once unquestioned authority is now met with quiet deliberation, with phrases like, "Let us form a committee," or "We need to gather more data." These aren't acts of defiance. They are acts of diffusion. They spread the responsibilities so thin that the leader's directive loses its point of impact. The leader, sensing this shift, might try to reassert control. They might become louder, more insistent, issuing more commands and demanding more reports. But this often has the opposite effect. It's like shouting into a void. The louder you are, the more the silence seems to mock you. The frantic effort to hold on only highlights how much has already slipped away. True authority is effortless. It doesn't need to be announced. It's simply acknowledged. When you have to constantly remind people you're in charge, you've already lost the essence of that charge. This is the phase of the shadow cabinet. People no longer look to the official leader for guidance. Instead, they start turning to others, a rising star, a respected veteran, someone who seems to have their finger on the pulse of what's next. The flow of information starts to bypass the leader's office. Decisions are made in quiet conversations in the hallway, over coffee, or through back-channel messages. The formal structure remains, but the real power has migrated, forming new, invisible networks. The leader becomes a figurehead, presiding over ceremonies but not substance. Their signature on a document, a mere formality for a decision made long before the paper reached their desk. As the leader's authority fades, a strange emptiness begins to creep into the physical spaces of power. Think of those grand offices, once buzzing with energy and importance. The corner suite with the panoramic view, the long boardroom table, the anterooms filled with people waiting for an audience. When power resides there, these places feel charged, almost electric. You can feel the weight of the decisions being made, the hum of influence radiating outward. But when power leaves, these spaces transform. They don't become messy or derelict overnight. Instead, they become unnaturally tidy. The desks are too clear, the chairs are too perfectly arranged. The silence is no longer the respectful hush of concentration, but the hollow echo of irrelevance. The phones don't ring. The once constant stream of visitors dries up. An office that was the nerve center of an entire organization now feels like a museum exhibit, a preserved relic of a bygone era. You can walk through these halls and feel the ghost of what was. You can almost hear the faint echo of urgent phone calls, of heated debates, of laughter after a successful deal. But it's just an echo. The present reality is a profound stillness. The warm, fading sunlight slants through the windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. A beautiful but melancholic symbol of time passing and relevance lost. These empty offices are perhaps the most poignant monuments to departed power. They are physical manifestations of the void, pristine and silent witnesses to the fact that the world has moved on, and the center of gravity is now somewhere else entirely. Finally, we witness the slow, inexorable decay of the bureaucracy that power once commanded. A large organization, a government department, a corporate empire, it's a machine. When it's running well, fueled by clear direction and purpose from the top, it can be a marvel of efficiency. But when the central engine of power sputters and dies, the machine doesn't just stop. It begins to grind, to rust, to decay from within. Without a strong, unifying vision, different parts of the bureaucracy begin to work at cross purposes. Departments start to guard their own turf, competing for dwindling resources and relevance. The flow of information, once a river, becomes a swamp. Memos circulate endlessly, achieving nothing. Procedures become more important than outcomes. The goal is no longer to accomplish the mission, but simply to follow the rules, to fill out the forms correctly, to ensure that no one can be blamed when things inevitably go wrong. This is the stage of institutional sclerosis. The organization becomes slow, unresponsive, and allergic to change. It's alive, but only in the most technical sense. It breathes, it consumes resources, but it no longer truly does anything. The people within it are not lazy or incompetent. They are trapped in a system that has lost its soul. They spend their days in meetings, about meetings, writing reports that no one will read, and navigating a maze of internal politics that has become an end in itself. The decay is slow, almost peaceful. There's no single catastrophic failure. Instead, it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. A missed opportunity here, a delayed project there, a slow erosion of market share, a gradual loss of public trust. From the outside, the building still stands. The name is still on the door, but inside, the vital spark is gone. It has become a monument to inertia, a machine that continues to run on momentum alone, long after the driver has left the seat. It's a slow, quiet fade into irrelevance. So, the end of power is rarely a spectacle. It's a slow dissolving picture. It's the leader who is no longer listened to, the office that is no longer visited, the machine that no longer serves a purpose. It's the realization that the world keeps spinning, with or without you. This process isn't necessarily sad or tragic. There's a certain peace in it, like watching a sunset. The light is brilliant, then it warms, it softens, and then, gently, it fades into the quiet of the night. It's a natural cycle. Power is temporary, influence is fleeting, and in the end, the most powerful legacy isn't the noise you made, but the grace with which you accepted the eventual, inevitable silence. It reminds us that what truly matters isn't the authority we command, but the impact we have and the connections we build. Because when the titles are gone and the offices are empty, those are the only things that truly remain. Thank you so much for watching. If this reflection resonated with you, consider subscribing for more thoughts on the quiet currents that shape our world. See you in the next one. Have you ever stood on an old road, one of those ancient paths paved with stones worn smooth by centuries of rain and footsteps? If you have, you know they have a certain feeling, a sense of waiting. And no roads in the world wait quite like the Roman roads. They stretch across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, straight as an arrow, cutting through forests and over mountains. They were built for legions, for messengers on horseback, for merchants with their carts full of goods. They were the arteries of an empire, pumping life and order to its furthest limbs. But now, they just wait. They wait for footsteps that will never come again. Imagine it. A young soldier, maybe from a small village in Gaul or a dusty town in Syria, marching away from home for the first time. He promises his family he'll be back. He walks this very road, his sandals kicking up the same dust we see today. He looks back one last time, waves, and disappears over the horizon. He believes he is part of something eternal, something that will last forever. Rome. For hundreds of years, the roads carried them out, and for hundreds of years, they brought many of them back veterans with stories to tell and coins in their pockets, ready to settle down and build a farm. The roads were a promise of return, but then, slowly, things began to change. The waiting became longer. The letters from the frontier grew scarce. The soldiers who marched away didn't come back. Not all of them, then not most of them, and then, finally, none of them. The roads fell silent. They were still there, a testament to incredible engineering, but their purpose was gone. They were just empty veins leading to a heart that was slowly ceasing to beat. They wait for legions that have long since turned to dust, for an eagle's standard that will never again glint in the sun. They are monuments to a promise that time, in the end, could not keep. Along these lonely roads, you find the ghosts of abandoned forts. Picture a place like Hadrian's Wall in northern Britain. For generations, it was the edge of the known world, a line of stone and turf stretching from sea to sea. Soldiers patrolled its ramparts, their gazes fixed on the misty hills of Caledonia. They lived their whole lives there. They fell in love with local women, raised children who knew nothing but the sound of the wind whipping across the moors and the call of the centurion's trumpet. This was their home. But one day, the orders came, or perhaps the orders stopped coming. The supply ships that brought grain and wine and paychecks from Rome became less frequent. The new recruits promised from the south never arrived. The letters from command spoke of troubles elsewhere, of Goths and Vandals, of civil wars and usurpers. The message was clear, even if it was never explicitly written: you are on your own. The empire is shrinking. The line is being pulled back. So they left. Maybe it wasn't a grand, dramatic evacuation. Maybe it was a slow trickle. A family packing their meager belongings onto a cart. A centurion deciding to take his men and offer their swords to a local warlord who could actually pay them. The gates of the fort were left to swing in the wind. Barrack rooms, once filled with the laughter and grumbling of soldiers, fell silent. The hearth fires went out. Rain began to wash away the mud brick walls. Weeds grew up in the parade ground where legions once drilled with perfect precision. Walking through these ruins today is a profoundly quiet experience. You can almost hear the echoes of the past. You can see the small, personal details: a carved gaming board scratched into a stone floor, a child's leather shoe lost in the mud, a broken piece of pottery that once held a family's dinner. These weren't just military outposts. They were communities, little pockets of Roman life clinging to the edge of a fading world. And when they were abandoned, it wasn't just a strategic retreat. It was the end of a world for the people who lived there. They were left behind by history, their stories swallowed by the encroaching wilderness. The fate of the unpaid legions is a story of loyalty turning to despair. A Roman soldier's life was built on a simple contract: service and discipline in exchange for pay, land, and the honor of serving the empire. This contract was the bedrock of Roman military power. But in the later centuries, the empire was broke. The gold and silver mines were running dry. Endless wars drained the treasury, and corrupt officials siphoned off what little was left. The coins that did reach the frontiers were often debased, mixed with cheaper metals, worth less and less each year. Imagine being a soldier on the Rhine or the Danube, facing constant raids, living in harsh conditions, thousands of miles from the sun-drenched land you might still call home. Your pay is late, again. When it finally arrives, it's not enough to buy what you need. You hear rumors of emperors being murdered and replaced every few months back in Rome. The very idea of Rome starts to feel distant, an abstract concept that no longer cares about you. What do? Your loyalty to a far-off, chaotic government begins to waver. Your immediate loyalty shifts to your general, the man who leads you in battle and tries to find food for you. And when that general raises his hand and declares himself emperor, promising you back pay and a share of the spoils, you follow him. Why wouldn't you? This was the cycle that tore the empire apart from within. Legions, meant to defend the borders, instead turned on each other, marching on Rome to install their own candidate on the throne. the empire began to consume itself. The very army that had built it became the instrument of its destruction, not out of malice, but out of desperation. A hungry, forgotten army is more dangerous to its own state than any foreign enemy. As the internal chaos grew, the borders began to shrink. It wasn't a single, catastrophic collapse, but a slow, painful process, like a coastline eroding grain by grain. For centuries, the Roman frontier was a place of exchange as much as conflict. But now, the pressure was immense and relentless. From the north, Germanic tribes, Goths, Franks, Alemanni, pushed south, driven by their own migrations and the lure of the empire's wealth. From the east, the powerful Sassanid Empire of Persia was a constant, formidable rival. Rome pulled back. Dacia, the province conquered by Trajan in a massive and celebrated war, was abandoned. The forts along the Agri-Decumates in Germany were given up. Eventually, even Britain was told to fend for itself. Each withdrawal was a blow to Roman prestige, a sign of weakness that emboldened its enemies and disheartened its citizens. Think of the people living in these borderlands. For generations, their families had been Roman. They spoke Latin. They worshipped Roman gods alongside their local ones. They lived under Roman law. Now, suddenly, the legions were gone. The protection, the order, the very identity they had known vanished. They were left to face the newcomers alone. Some integrated, some fought, some fled, but their world was irrevocably changed. The map of the empire was being redrawn, not by conquerors with grand ambitions, but by exhaustion. Rome was tired. It was too big, too complex, too broken to hold itself together. The borders weren't breached by force alone. They dissolved because the will to man them had faded away. Everything in this fading world seems to be bathed in the light of dusk. The colors are muted, the deep orange of a sunset over a crumbling aqueduct, the purple haze settling over a silent, empty forum, the gray stone of a temple now open to the sky. It's the color of an ending. The vibrant reds and golds of the imperial standard are gone, replaced by the soft, melancholic tones of decay. The landscape itself seems to be reclaiming what was once tamed. Fields that were once neatly cultivated to feed the cities are overgrown with brambles. The great Roman roads, where they haven't been maintained, are being cracked apart by tree roots and buried by soil. Marble statues of emperors and goddesses, their features worn smooth by wind and rain, lie toppled in the grass, their blind eyes staring up at a sky that no longer knows their names. This isn't a landscape of violent destruction, but one of slow, quiet surrender. It's the feeling of a great house after the owners have left. The furniture is still there, the portraits are still on the wall, but dust is settling on every surface. A profound stillness has taken over. The energy, the noise, the purpose, all gone. What's left is a powerful sense of melancholy, a beauty in the decay. It's the visual poetry of impermanence. It reminds us that even the mightiest creations are subject to the gentle, relentless passage of time. The sun sets on a farm villa in Gaul, its mosaics cracking, its painted walls fading. The last light of day catches the curve of a broken amphora, and in the twilight, the empire of stone and power becomes an empire of memory and shadow. In this long twilight, the very concept of time seemed to shift. In the empire's golden age, time was linear, a march of progress. New territories were conquered, grander buildings were erected, the future seemed bright and limitless. But in the declining years, time became cyclical, and then it simply seemed to slow down, to pool in stagnant ponds of memory. People began looking backward, not forward. They wrote histories not of recent triumphs, but of the glorious past. They told stories of the great emperors Augustus, Trajan, Marcus Aurelius's, if they were figures from a lost age of giants. The present was a time of making do, of patching things up. They couldn't build new aqueducts, so they did their best to repair the old ones. They couldn't carve magnificent new statues, so they sometimes took the head off an old one and replaced it with the head of the current, forgettable emperor. Life became about managing decline, not striving for greatness. The old certainties were gone. The sense that you were part of a grand, ongoing story was replaced by the feeling that the story had already ended and you were just living in the epilogue. This change in the perception of time is perhaps the most subtle but profound aspect of the fall. When a civilization loses its faith in the future, it has already begun to die. The energy dissipates. The will to create, to explore, to innovate withers. People focused on survival, on holding on to what little they had. The grand Roman project, which had spanned 1,000 years, ran out of momentum. It coasted for a while on the fumes of its past glory, but eventually it slowed, sputtered, and came to a quiet stop. The great clock of the empire wound down, and what was left was silence and waiting, and the slow work of forgetting. Thank you for journeying with me through these echoes of the past. If you found a quiet moment in this story, consider subscribing for more reflections on history. Take care. Have you ever noticed how quiet some places have become? Think about it. That online forum you used to visit every day, filled with endless debates and laughter, is now just an archive, a digital ghost town. Remember the old neighborhood bathhouse, the sound of splashing water, the echo of chatter and steam, all gone now, replaced by a silent, locked door. Even that corner store, where the owner always had a story to tell, now sits dark and empty. It feels like the world is slowly turning down its volume. We are surrounded by the echoes of what used to be. The internet, once a bustling metropolis of ideas, now has countless abandoned alleyways. Remember those early social media platforms, pages frozen in time, last updated a decade ago. Personal blogs, once vibrant diaries shared with the world, are now like forgotten books on a dusty shelf. Each one is a silent monument to a voice that has moved on. The digital world promised to connect us forever, but it also created new kinds of silence, new forms of abandonment. It's a strange feeling, scrolling through a friend's old profile, a life documented up to a certain point, and then just nothing. It's a modern-day mystery, a story without an ending. This silence isn't just digital, it seeps into our physical world too. Think of the grand old movie theaters, the ones with velvet seats and ornate ceilings. I remember the buzz of the crowd before the film started, the collective gasp or laugh that filled the massive hall. Now, many of these palaces of dreams are either torn down or repurposed, their majestic silence a stark contrast to their lively past. Or what about the local libraries? While many are still thriving, others have seen their visitor numbers dwindle. The gentle rustle of turning pages, the soft shush of the librarian, these sounds are becoming rarer, replaced by the silent glow of screens in our hands. It's a pattern we see across generations. The traditions and gathering places of our grandparents' time, like the town square dances or the community halls where everyone knew your name, have faded. The sounds of their generation, the crackle of a vinyl record, the clatter of a manual typewriter, the specific ring of a rotary phone are now novelties, sounds you might hear in a movie to set a scene in the past. We collect these sounds as vintage curiosities, but we've lost the context, the life that pulsed around them. Each generation leaves behind its own set of silences, its own collection of forgotten noises. And as we move forward, we create new sounds, but we also create new silences. Think about the evolution of music. We went from concert halls to boomboxes on the street, and now to individual headphones. We are more connected to music than ever, but the shared public experience of it has diminished. We walk through a crowded city, each of us in our own personal sound bubble. We are together, yet sonically alone. The communal soundtrack of a city street is being replaced by millions of individual playlists. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is a profound shift in how we experience the world and each other. The silence of places can be deeply unsettling. An abandoned amusement park is perhaps one of the most poignant examples. You can almost hear the ghosts of laughter, the phantom music of the carousel, the distant screams from the roller coaster. But all that remains is the wind whistling through rusted metal. It's a playground of silence. These places were built for noise, for joy, for life. In their quiet, they speak volumes about time, change, and the fleeting nature of our celebrations. They remind us that even the most vibrant expressions of human happiness can fall silent. This phenomenon extends into our homes. How many of us have attics or basements filled with things that have fallen silent? Old instruments that are no longer played, a child's toy box from a bygone era, a collection of letters tied with a ribbon. These objects were once central to a daily routine, filled with the sounds of use and affection. Now they wait in the dark. A dusty guitar in the corner isn't just a piece of wood and string. It's a collection of unsung songs. A stack of old home videos on VHS tapes contains captured laughter and voices trapped in a format we can no longer easily play. Our own homes become museums of personal silence. And then there's the natural world. We talk about saving species and preserving habitats, but we don't often talk about saving the sounds. The soundscape of a forest is as delicate as its ecosystem. The specific call of a bird, the chorus of frogs at dusk, the buzz of insects. As habitats shrink and species disappear, the natural orchestra loses its members. Scientists can now record the sound of a reef dying, the vibrant crackle and pop of a healthy coral system fading into a desolate hush. This is perhaps the most alarming silence of all, the quieting of life itself. We are losing the planet's oldest songs, and many of us don't even notice they're gone. But is all silence a loss? Or is it just a transformation? Perhaps silence is not an emptiness, but a space to think, to remember, to feel. In our incredibly noisy modern world, maybe we have become afraid of quiet. We fill every spare moment with podcasts, music, and notifications. We are constantly consuming, constantly stimulated. When we are finally confronted with silence, it can feel deafening. It forces us to listen to ourselves, to our own thoughts, and that can be uncomfortable. But it can also be clarifying. Imagine standing in the ruins of an ancient city. The moonlight shines down on weathered marble, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. There are no echoes of the marketplaces, the political debates, the chariot wheels on stone. There is only a profound, deep silence. In that silence, you don't just see the history, you feel the weight of it. The silence isn't empty, it's full of stories. It's a testament to everything that was, and a canvas for our imagination. The silence of these ruins doesn't signify an end. It signifies a legacy that has transcended sound. It has become a part of the landscape, a quiet monument to human endeavor. Maybe that's the key. Maybe we need to learn to listen to the silence, to understand what it's telling us. The silence of the abandoned forum tells us about the ever-shifting nature of community. The silence of the old theater speaks of changing tastes and technologies. The silence in our homes reminds us of the lives we've lived and the people we've been. And the growing silence of the natural world is a desperate call to action. Perhaps the goal isn't to fill every silence, but to understand it, to appreciate the quiet moments, to find the beauty in the pause. In a world that screams for our attention, silence can be a sanctuary. It allows for reflection, for peace, for a deeper connection to the world and to ourselves. It is in the quiet spaces between the notes that music finds its soul. And perhaps it is in the quiet places of our world that we can find ours. Let's not be afraid of the quiet. Let's lean in and listen to what it has to say. Thanks for watching.